The following podcast may be explicit. One Joe Young presents Adventures from the Shed, a tabletop RPG podcast. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com. Now that we've accomplished a base world creation, it's time to get into creating our characters for this Dresden Files Accelerated campaign. Listen in to hear how we go from basic ideas and move to the beginnings of characters. Enjoy the podcast. Hi, and welcome to The Shed for Adventures from the Shed. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com. Definitely find us on iTunes if you like us. Even if you don't, if you would give us a great review on iTunes, that would be awesome. It does help other people find us on iTunes. You can also give us a great review anywhere else you find us. We are hosted on Podbean. We have almost 200 followers there, so you might be following us there. You can find us there and follow us on Podbean, which will put us closer to the top of the list of podcasts that more people will see. That'd be great. In the meantime, we're just going to go around the table quickly and say hi, starting with...
Hey everyone, this is Mickie.
JJ here. I'll be playing Cletus.
Cletus.
Hey, this is Kurt, and if everything Joe just said confused you, just go to adventuresfromtheshed.com and you'll find the links to all of our stuff, because I don't know what Podbean is.
You don't have to.
I don't if I go to Adventures from the Shed.
Yeah, okay. That's what I do. I put it in my RSS feed and I'm good to go. This is Chris.
Hey, and I am Joe. We are back doing our world and character creation for the Dresden Files Accelerated campaign that will be kicking off soon. What we did in the last session, actually, Chris, do you remember what we did?
We talked about creating the world, and we're going to use the upstate of South Carolina, a little bit of maybe Charlotte, North Carolina, and Atlanta area in Georgia.
Yep.
And then we talked about creating some factions, mostly the real estate guys.
We spent a lot of time
and a little bit about the incident, what caused us to maybe kind of come here and check things out.
Yep.
Which has to do with the real estate developers.
Cool. So we did that in the last session, part of that, and we're going by the book, the Dresden Files Accelerated book. We're using the PDF here, hardcover to arrive soon. And
so, Joe, we didn't talk about other factions. Are we leaving that to you to know whether there's vampires or werewolves?
A little bit about others. We did mention, for me, I'm actually going to use, Kurt, your mention of the ghosts from the past. There will be something linking the spirits from history of this area. There will be something linking that, and that will be a faction. You just don't know that much about it yet. And we did mention the faction behind the major banking institutions, probably White Court vampires from the Wraith House.
Okay.
And that we talked about just enough to give them those names, but we didn't delve into the factions like we did with the real estate developers. But we most likely will during our first regular campaign adventure. Okay. They will definitely be a part of it. So we did that. We found places in our general area that we were familiar with and gave them a little bit of history, well, maybe not history, but significance within our world. And then, let's see... I think that really covers overall what we did in the first hour. And just as a reminder for those listening, we are doing this a little different from normal, where we are recording all of our creation aspects. When we first started in recording this Dresden Files Accelerated game, none of us had read the rule book front to back. I think some of us had skimmed different parts. I had asked each of the players to read, I think it's 5 pages that covers character creation, which isn't a lot, but it gives you the idea of what you're going to do to create a character. And we are learning it as we go, and hopefully this gives you a look into what it's really like to be at a tabletop RPG session with a bunch of people trying to figure out how to play a game, creating the world and creating the characters to get started. And on that note, we're jumping into character creation. And so for today, or for this session, we're going right into creating the characters. What there is there for character creation. This is on the bottom of page 91 of the book, and I'm just going to read the summary, and then we'll get into that with the others at the table here. So the summary is recommended in this sequence: choosing a mantle, choosing 2 aspects, both high concept and trouble, create a 3rd aspect, give your character a name and describe them. JJ's got that one,
Yep.
The name already. Choose your character's approaches, and we talked a little about this in the last session. Approaches are what you might be familiar with in other RPGs as abilities or skills, strength, constitution, dexterity, etc. In this game, they're called approaches, and they have different names. Then set your character's refresh to 3. Refresh in the fate system means how many fate points you get at the beginning of a session or adventure. Choose a stunt. Now, stunts are would be analogous to like feats in a D&D kind of scenario or Pathfinder.
And on the refresh and the fate points, if you have more stunts, you get less refresh.
To be honest, that's something we need to see in this game. That was the way in the full Dresden Files RPG. I have not read that section yet.
You
did, Kurt? Okay.
Yeah, and so I think the idea is you can have more stunts and do more cool stuff, but then you get fewer fate points to start each session.
Yeah. So you get guaranteed ability to do cool stuff, but you then don't get to modify the story or a role as often.
Right. Although in Fate, there's always a chance for you as a GM to give us offer us fate points.
That's the idea. Then after choosing that stunt, we'll be recording character stress and conditions.
I'm very stressed right now, Jim.
If desired, write up 2 more aspects and add up to 2 more stunts. And then lastly, complete any additional information about required about your character. Those familiar with job descriptions, I read this one as other related duties as assigned. Right. So the last one is complete any additional information that you need.
Well, and on the aspect stuff, we don't have to do that because we can add those later as we play if we want to. We have to do 2, I think.
You have to create 2 aspects, high concept and trouble, and create a 3rd as part of character creation. However, other aspects can come into play later.
Right.
Yes.
Like if you already know what you want your character to be like, you can make those aspects now, or you can wait and call them in as needed.
So let's start talking a little bit about one of our characters. And I think Kurt volunteered to go first. So let's talk a little bit about the mantle. And I think it's going to be between Kurt and JJ doing a lot of the talk here, while myself and Mickie and Chris probably read some more so we understand a little.
Yeah, and I volunteered to go first because I don't know what I'm doing, to be quite
Also,
frank.
let me ask if you would just make sure you're keeping the notes as we go, because the next time we sit down, we won't remember a damn thing.
So in my mind, I'm playing kind of a outdoorsy hunter-fisher, loves the wild and wildlife character. As a secondary trait, he may have a bunch of money, but that's not the overriding character. And so when I just did a quick skim through the mantles in preparing for today, and my sense, Joe, is that the mantles are kind of a framework to give you kind of a concept and some stunts. It's almost like a pre-built beginning to a character.
And I may not have the right analogy here, but I was thinking of it kind of in the way that you could say, my character is a fighter, and then you determine, is he an archer? Is he a two-handed fighter? Right. Is he a sword and board? I think of the mantle, the overarching theme, like that. It starts to define your character, and then you get deeper and deeper into the definition.
Right. And so for me on this game, I know I want to now play an outdoorsy character. In my mind, he's kind of maybe a little druidy or rangery. But that's
funny,
really,
you don't look druish.
But that's really all I know. And so when I skimmed the mantles, I was like, well, should I play a were character? Because I could be a werewolf, were-fox, were-bear. And I was like, that'd be cool.
I want you to be a were-squirrel.
Were-squirrel. Or a changeling. And basically when I looked at these different mantles, you know, some of them you're a fae or you have fae ancestry or, you know, whatever. And JJ had suggested just literally on the last break that I would look at a particular mantle. And when I looked at it very, very quickly, I was like, this might be really fun. So, JJ, why don't you just give me a quick overview of what it is and who that main guy is.
And what it means in the Dresden
universe. Exactly.
So, the Earl King is he is the leader of the Wild Hunt. Specifically, from what I understand, he came into being to hunt the outsiders. And so... imagine, if you will, like, you know, the Big Bang creation, and then the magical beings come into being, and they create the world along with, you know, God and, you know, Hades and Thor and Odin. All these beings came into being. And the Earl King came into being because there's also outsiders. Outsiders are the very definition of ruin, devastation. They want to destroy what is created. And the Earl King regularly goes on what's called wild hunts to destroy any outsiders that have made it into the world.
Is the Earl King Fey or
The Earl King is
above them?
beside
Beside them.
Like you have
Is he a god?
He is god-ish. He's his own force of nature. He's
Okay.
a force of nature. How about that? He's not a god. He is bound to only do that thing, to hunt outsiders. But you, being the Earl King's hunt master, would be his liaison with the human world.
Right. So the mantle that JJ recommended, and which I think I'm probably going to go with, is Earl King's Huntmaster. And I lost the page number. Do you have it there, JJ?
144.
Right. So do you want to give a quick summary, or do you want me to give a quick summary?
You go for it. You can read it and ask any questions if you have any.
Yeah, so I'll keep it short. But the idea is that I have a role for the Wild Fae that it says resembles that of the winter or summer nights of the Fae courts, which is assisting the Earl King with issues where supernatural obligations and restrictions prevent his personal attention. So he's too busy to deal with something. I'm like his right-hand man, I guess, and I go and deal with it. And I operate at the otherworldly scale, which will come into play later when we're kind of dealing with our power level, essentially.
So if you look on the character sheet, in the bottom left above stress, there's scale.
Right.
You have mundane, supernatural, otherworldly, legendary, godlike.
Right. So I'd be in the middle there, which is cool. And then I guess the way the mantle works is it gives you some unique conditions. And I'm not going to read all the details of mine, but for example, I have impaled by cold iron, which means each one of these things gives a mechanical effect. So if I'm in trouble, then I get to have a certain defense because of this. And then I get wild power, which means that I can access my mantle's powers in certain ways, by marking boxes. And Joe, I don't know how much you want to go into this because I haven't reviewed it in detail, but what the mantle does is it gives me 3, I think, unique conditions, and then it gives me my core stunts, like, for example, faster, stronger, tougher. I can mark a box of wild power to add +1 to any physical action.
So let's talk about that for a moment, because this is going to be true for everybody once they've picked a mantle. When you pick the mantle, you get all of the core stunts. So that's a given. And then when you're choosing other stunts, it says right under there, additional stunts. With GM approval, you may also select stunts from the general Fey list, which is separate for your character. And then they have the other ones that are listed right here.
Right.
So when you're selecting stunts, you can pick from there.
Right, and 2 things here. First of all, my understanding is my character is pure mortal, purely human. I'm not supernatural, but because of my relationship with the Earl King, I'm essentially granted some special abilities
You are
or
given,
access
you're
to the
given
supernatural.
a mantle to wear.
Right.
And if you die, that mantle just passes to somebody else.
Right. So I like this because I've been playing some spellcasters in our other games and doing kind of funky stuff. I like the idea of just playing a normal dude who's got some special abilities.
So that impaled by cold iron, that literally means that if someone sticks you with cold iron, the mantle no
mantle.
longer functions for you.
Right. Right. I also love this one because one of my core stunts is called Crazy Ninja Powers. And without knowing anything about it, I want Crazy Ninja Powers.
Exactly.
So I feel good about this. And as you said, I get to pick additional stunts from the general Fey list. I'm probably going to have the opportunity to get glamour and things related to kind of hunting powers and wild hunt stuff, which is exactly how I envision my guy. I envision him being out in, he may be super smart or super rich, but he wants to be out in camouflage in the woods hunting and fishing. And so I think this will work well without having looked at it in any detail. And I guess I'll just stop there and say, unless someone else in the party really wants me to play more of a supernatural character or more of a true changeling or were character, I'm good with this one.
I think one of the things to consider there, though, is because of the mantle, you yourself are not supernatural, but you're able to do supernatural things because of the mantle.
Correct.
So you're a regular mortal, but you're going to be a super ninja because you can, and that's something you'll be checking off boxes when you use it to give you bonuses.
Yeah,
So
so
just
just
to be-
you got 5 boxes you can check. So you can call on that ability, but the rest of the time you're immortal.
Right. So just to be clear, I could be Superman, but instead I'm going to choose to be Batman. And being
Essentially,
Batman is fucking awesome because you get to have sex with Catwoman and be Batman.
At the same time.
So I'm going to play Batman.
cool. Yeah.
I'm going to be Batman for the campaign.
Yeah, because you pretty much you're Bruce
I'm
Wayne.
Batman.
So you may have to come up with a squirrel cave instead of a bat cave.
All right, I'll stop talking, and maybe we can throw it over to let's throw it over to Chris and figure out
because I actually want to do a little bit more with your character to start.
You've exhausted the extent of my knowledge.
Because
that's what we want to get started.
If you keep reading Wild Power, the Wild approach, however, has a catch. The GM will modify your description of your action.
Yeah, and that's fun. And there's, I think, there are some of them where, depending on what you roll, you get to pick all of the consequences. And if you roll less, then you and I pick. And then if you roll even less, then only I pick. So I like some of that variance. I'm not sure if it's exactly that one, but there are some that work like that.
Nice.
But Kurt, the reason I say I want to do a little bit more with yours is what I want you to do while we move on to the next character. And this is on page 92, which is kind of funny because the graphic has the guy's leg over the 2, so it looks like page 9. That's funny. But anyway, it's page 92, and at the bottom it talks about your high concept. Now, your high concept is one phrase or sentence that communicates the distilled essence about your character. So I want you to be coming up with that, and then also what the trouble is for your character. And there's an example of that on 93. And then start thinking about the third aspect.
Yeah, those will be easy for me. Before I stop, I'm just going to throw out that one of my core stunts is Enforcer of the Accords. Mm-hmm. Queen Mob and Erkling have appointed me as the Enforcer of the Unseelie Accords.
Correct.
Now, just out of a point of reference, because I only ever listened to the audiobooks, I never read the books. In the audiobooks, he says Mab.
Mab.
That's fine. Mab. So if I'm the witness or informed by the Earl King of any violation, I receive +2 on certain actions taken against the violators. I just like the idea that I'm going to be an enforcer.
Basically, yeah. As the Earl King says, that dude violated, take him out.
Right, I'm down. So I get to be a little bit of like an enforcer, maybe an assassin, who knows?
We had the question earlier, like, who
assassin.
polices the police? Well, who violates the violators?
Right.
We know that now.
Right, yep. That's right. Yeah. I am watching The Watchmen.
Yes.
All right, so
who wants to step up with a mantle next for their character while Kurt goes about a couple of personal details on his?
I might overcomplicate this, but I was looking over the Knights of the Cross. I was looking at the Knights of the Cross thing, and I like the idea of doing that, but he's also a White Court virgin. So he's not a vampire like JJ mentioned, but he's got that taint on him.
He's got a taint.
And he's trying to repent, but he's a Knight of the Cross. So, but then there's a whole crisis of faith thing where he kind of like sways to the bad side every once in a while.
So here's what I want to do with that. Let's say that's what it is, and see if there's anything that we violate by doing it.
Okay.
Because I want that to happen, but I don't. If we find a rule that says these two things are not compatible or not possible, then we either find a way to adjust so we're okay, or we break the rule in order to make it happen. Yeah. But what I think what it'll end up meaning is you won't get the full powers of either,
right?
But it'll be close, and that's what we'll try to figure out.
Right.
But go ahead and tell us what that means.
Well, the Knights of the Cross is you serve the God of Abraham and battle supernatural forces with the strength of your faith and consecrated weaponry. And I guess there's one of the swords is up. Nobody's got it right now. There was like 3 weapons, and one spot is open at the moment.
Yep. Amarachius, I think, was Michael's.
Yeah,
that's Michael's sword.
Yeah. And then I can't remember the one that Sasha has.
I can't remember either.
It's the
A1.
It is
in the book
it's
somewhere.
the A1.
The one that starts.
Yeah, I can't even see it now.
Yeah, but anyway, so then there's the third one. I don't even remember what that one was, but wasn't that the one that
the Russian guy.
The Chinese guy had?
The Asian guy,
the Asian dude? Okay.
And the Russian dude is the atheist.
Yeah, and that's Sasha.
That makes sense.
That's Sasha.
Yeah.
Huh?
Because the state's your god. Yeah.
Yeah.
That totally makes sense to be the Russian guy.
But we'll figure that part out. But but
then then I'll switch over to the White Court virgin, vampire virgin thing. Is you were born from a vampire, but you've never fed.
Okay.
But you still, kind of have to. I guess you're kind of still feeding it anyway, but you've never killed anybody.
Okay.
So we just have to figure out. Yeah, I guess.
Well, I think one of the
which
things,
powers would work and which
one of the things you have to pick, I believe, if you're a vampire, White Court is which house, because there are 3 houses.
Well, it would have to be the White Court virgin. So
but there's still houses.
Yeah,
there's still different houses.
Yeah, there are 3 houses.
I guess I'd want to go for the one. I think it was the device or.
The only one I keep remembering right now is the house Wraith. They feed on lust. That's the one, and that's the one.
Right, and then there's
at the banking
Malvora or something is.
Yeah, Malvora, and that one is like
Scavacy or Scavici or I don't know. I'm
I
probably
think
ripping
that
this
might
apart.
be the person who runs
which is
it.
despair.
Despair, right?
Which
I
might
can't
work
remember
for a
what the
priest
middle
because he's people come in and they're
You know, that's
and
a
he
dark-
feeds off that.
Yes, a Catholic priest in confession.
Yeah,
oh my
totally.
Gosh.
Yeah.
You're super powerful.
So I'm getting
It's
that a
either
little
guilt
bit.
or
That-
despair.
Yeah,
or
but
both.
then I'll make it work out with the Knights of the Cross.
You know
thing.
that's pretty
that
good.
really, that
Yeah.
is really good.
So what I'd want to do with that is
Which I should probably be taking
between
notes.
those two things, you want to see. So there's going to be core stunts under each one.
Yeah, we just might have
So
to limit.
yeah. So how many are there? So there were 3.
The Knights of
core
the Cross have a
stunts.
lot. The other one, the White Court, doesn't have much because the White Court
Right.
says you're pure mortal and you get things at supernatural level.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess we'd have to say what bleeds more over or not.
But the for example, the mantle that Kurt chose for his character is 3 core stunts. Now, if we look between the 2, Knight of the Cross and the White Court Vampire, how many total are there? Maybe we just take half.
Or
there's
like pick and choose.
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
2 core stunts for the Knight of the Cross, and there's a bunch of additional stunts, or
Okay.
5 additionals.
So I guess what I would say
The
for
White
you,
Court
Chris,
doesn't have much. I think the only thing I would really like I would use for the vampire maybe is use one of the vampire stunts, like either physique, toughness, or recovery. So maybe he's a little tougher than
Okay.
normal. And then I don't know if I would really want to.
So we essentially want to treat this as a mantle and a mantle B, right?
Yeah.
You don't have 2 equal.
Right.
You're a Knight of the Cross who also happens to be a White Court vampire.
Right. So it's
Okay.
and that's more connection and just a little bit
Okay.
of the. Maybe that's why, she came after me because she thought. Then, he's.
I'd
maybe
definitely
not
be
completely.
curious how Yahweh feels about the vampire.
Yeah, right. It's
Yeah.
just totally. But I'm still. Yeah.
I'll have
All
to
right.
determine that.
Yeah. Right. And that's where the crisis
Cool.
of faith comes in for the trouble thing, I guess.
So your homework, while we move on to another
Yeah.
character, will be the same. Look up come up with your high concept and a trouble, and start thinking about the third aspect. But for you, pick the cores that make sense. And what I would say is, if there's only 2 under Knight of the Cross,
Yeah.
then and you want both of them, then look for one of the more minor ones under the White Court Vampire. Something that,
Gotcha.
like you said, something that kind of fits the theme you're thinking without necessarily going what might be considered overpowered.
Gotcha.
So the Knight of the Cross again is.
Kind of like a paladin type guy, really.
Essentially.
Do you
Yeah.
want to play more of a paladin than a vampire?
No, I just wanted to have that bad piece in there. The guy's
a-
like
he's a
Catholic
tainted
priest, but he's
paladin.
not. He's corrupted, but he's
Yeah.
not a bad guy. But he has to use that bad part of himself to do good.
And if we're talking about him being born of a vampire, then it wasn't his fault.
Right.
Right?
Right,
He didn't
right, right.
choose to be there,
Yeah.
so to speak.
But
And
like,
now
are
he's
you going to
trying
be able
make
to
good.
go in and hang with the vampire court if you need to?
Well, I don't have the connection because I'm a White Court virgin.
Right.
He
I
hasn't
can't really
killed
call on them
somebody
for
yet.
favor, but I can have the
Right.
connection. But they're kind of I'm on the pay no mind list.
So is one of, I'm just curious the way this adventure goes. Like, this could go 2 ways, right? You
Right.
kill someone and now you're in with the vampires.
Right.
Or you're the good paladin who's
Yeah.
just constantly.
It's open for
Okay.
it's
So
open.
I'll give you an idea of a way that I would expect it to start. Being a White Court virgin, we've already said White Court vampires are running the banks.
Yeah.
Well, being the White Court virgin he is, and a Knight of the Cross, he's not going to get any special rates at Wells Fargo.
Right.
Right? He's going to pay the same interest as everyone else is paying,
Okay.
because he's nowhere near important enough for any special
Well,
consideration.
but just so we know, generally you're starting out more in the I want to be a good guy who's a little troubled, rather than I'm at the borderline of evil, but I'm still kind of a good guy.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Okay.
And good point. That's where we're starting.
Right. But it's
could
important to
change
know where we're
quickly.
starting.
It could go completely the other. Yeah, it could go sideways quick.
So yeah, Chris, start going with those things. Also, for you as well, Kurt, name and appearance. You can start thinking of those things if you don't. already have a
Devastatingly
name.
handsome.
Yeah, I'm talking about your character. And who would choose the name Kurt? I mean, come on. Especially when you can have a J as a name instead, because I can sympathize with that. People who have a hard K sound to start their names are stupid.
My eldest son.
Oh, I'm sorry.
My eldest son told me yesterday that his name was completely stupid.
Did he?
And I was like, what kind of name do you want, Thomas? He's like, Emilio. I was like, fine, I'm going to call you Emilio Schumacher from now on. Have fun with that.
He was like ready though. He was ready.
He was
That
totally
was
ready. It
awesome.
took him like
Emilio.
3 seconds. He's like, Emilio.
Yeah. Did you literally hear the culture clash
Yeah.
at the time? Yeah.
By the way, we watched Teen Wolf last night as a family. That's good fun with a 12,
It is.
11-year-old and a 9-year-old.
Yes,
That
because
is
he's
fun.
Teen Wolf.
Just going to throw it out there that if you have not watched Teen Wolf in a while, it's 1985 at its best.
And wasn't Michael J. Fox like 50?
Yes.
when he played?
It also-
I know he wasn't.
It came out
That's an
immediately
exaggeration.
after Back to the Future, which
Yeah.
Back to the Future feels like a kind of a high-budget big movie. And then you watch Teen Wolf, and they literally filmed it with like 50 extras
Yeah.
in a gym.
In a gym,
Awesome.
yeah.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Who's going to go next? Mickie or JJ?
I think Mickey's ready.
You ready there,
Okay.
Mixter?
I chose Monster Hunter.
Monster Hunter.
Awesome.
Now,
So-
what does that mean?
Many
Tell us.
mortals dedicate their lives to protecting others from supernatural predators despite the disadvantages of their mortality. Some emerge from survivalists, law enforcement, or military backgrounds, but anyone with sufficient motivation can take up this calling. So think kind of like the crossroads of Buffy and Supernatural. Like
So-
the Supernatural boys are hunters.
Are you human?
Human. Correct. But having grown up in the Cherokee area, I'm really familiar with all that old lore and all that old magic, so
So are
I
you
know
going to be
how
like
to
me with
type
a
in.
mantle, or are you going to be truly supernatural?
Truly, no, not supernatural nor mantle. I have like a magic book, a journal where I've collected different spells and different rituals that I can use to enhance any activities.
So she isn't supernatural, but can do supernatural things.
Correct.
So you and I will be the mortals.
I'll be immortal.
I was going to say, what are you going to be?
Yeah.
So let's
So my-
talk a little bit about under Monster Hunter. What does that mean for like your conditions, your stunts? And we don't, like Kurt had done, you don't have to read all of them, but give an idea of what it sounds
So
like.
unique conditions in pursuit allowed. In this condition, supernatural creature in your target. So basically, I can target any creature or thing that I'm
Oh,
going
you
after.
can put your mark on them.
I can put my
Yeah.
mark. Yeah, like that mark of vengeance.
Yeah, the Oath of Vengeance.
Oath of Vengeance.
Yep.
There it is. And that allows that. That's what the ability of the Great Hunt
Okay.
is. Basically, and we'll get into details
Do you
later.
pick one creature for your character's duration? Like I
No,
hunt
so like-
vampires,
no,
or once a session I get to pick a mark?
Most of these types of things are for an adventure, a session. It could even be for a scene. That in this scene, I'm after that guy.
Yeah.
So
and then it can change.
One of her
after.
additional stunts is Nemesis, which is what you're talking about.
So that would be,
is
a favored enemy.
Right.
Yeah.
not even a favorite enemy. It's a specific
Yeah.
enemy. So like the Black Court vampire that is trying to take over Greenville.
Right. I looked
Or-
at Monster Hunter pretty closely. That was one of the ones I was considering. There's some cool stuff in there.
Looks
What
cool.
else you got, Mick?
So wounded, lasting. So this allows to. It says mark this condition to absorb 4 shifts from any attack. So I guess I can become wounded to
Yeah.
throw things off.
And that's pretty good. Yeah. And I'm sure there's some description in there about how you get to pick, probably, or I get to pick one or the other.
Correct.
Yeah.
Then I've got some core stunts in here, which are countermeasures and Hunter's Network. So with Hunter's Network, if we're on a query or I'm trying to do something, I can kind of take a time out and do some research and find out
Cool.
more information to
Oh,
aid
by
in
the
that
way,
pursuit.
to that note, for the folks familiar with Dresden, I will be using the Paranet, the Paranetwork.
Okay.
So that will be in there. And it will actually be in our first opening adventure. So that may even be part of your network.
Brilliant. And then countermeasures. Declare what you happen to have a countermeasure on hand which nullifies. Oh, I can nullify something. Okay.
Ah. So you just happen to carry around flares in case you are attacked by a heat-seeking missile.
Why not? And it also says at the GM's discretion, this stunt can also nullify other effects of supernatural power, such as by avoiding or a soul gaze or seeing through glamour.
Nice. Cool.
And
And
there's
I would
additional
assume that's
stunts.
kind of just a personal thing. You can see through a glamour, but the ones with you may not be able to.
Correct.
I like that idea. That's cool.
Got a personal saying.
You got a personal saying
Yes,
already?
I do.
Nice.
If brute force doesn't work, you're not using enough.
That's my saying.
Not anymore, it isn't.
It's
She
mine.
said it first. He who smelt it dealt it.
She who denied it supplied it.
I think you should go with.
I actually like that.
I have
That's pretty
values.
cool.
They stack up nicely.
Yes. All right, so Mickie, same idea. Come up with a high concept. Again, if you haven't already, and I see some notes here. I think you may have some of that.
Yes,
But
please.
between high concept, trouble, and start thinking about a third aspect. And I think you have a name already, and then maybe some of an appearance,
First name Mora, last name Less.
more or less.
Hilarious.
I've had too much time on the internet.
However, you shouldn't spell less Less because
That's
I'm
how
looking
I'm
at your
gonna
sheet.
spell that because that's
You got
so.
to find a different way to spell it.
Well, I have to write it that way, otherwise I won't pronounce it correctly.
Ah, all right.
But it's a play on words for moral.
Or maybe just one S.
Fine, I'll drop an S.
Yeah.
Stop telling me how to do my stuff,
It's too
Joe.
literal. You spelled Mora Maura, not Morea.
Well, yeah. Okay. Fine, I'll drop it.
You're talking without your mic on. Good
Yeah.
job.
M for muted.
I had a girl in my first grade class named Maura, Maura. She was really
Yeah.
cute.
Yep. Now you have a girl in your first podcast named Mora.
That's her name. How's she
Yeah.
spelling it?
Same way.
Maura.
So not Buffy.
And her last name is Les.
More or less.
Oh, that's horrible. So bad.
Actually, her mantle is horrible.
Mantle is horrible.
So yeah, Mickie, continue with your homework, and then we are moving on to the Mr. JJ to see what mantle he has picked for Cletus.
So I like the idea of doing the warden thing, of being the wizard cop.
Okay.
So now it's going to be there's so much to the magical practitioner mantle,
Yeah.
and then I had to purchase additional stunts of White Council membership, 2 warden, 2 silver sword.
When you say purchase, you mean you gave up refresh points to get those?
I don't know.
When you choose additional stuns, it is at the cost of refresh. Yes.
Yeah.
And
So-
I'm sure we'll get into that as we're delving deeper into the characters.
So
But,
that is
yeah.
that is where I plan to go. Though instead of being a silver sword, I want it to be a hammer to tie into my name.
So what is your mantle?
Mantle is technically magical practitioner,
Okay.
but there's more to it than that.
Yeah. So you just gave a summary, but read some of it and tell us the pieces that you're going to use.
So I'm going to utilize the third eye a lot. For whatever reason, I have a resistance to the horrors of the third eye.
Okay.
What is the third eye?
The third eye, it allows you to see everything as a metaphorical expression of its true nature. So you see a mugger in an alley, but instead of you seeing, I don't see a mugger, I see a jaguar hungering for meat. So
You see their true
the
nature.
mugger's only mugging because he's hungry. So it allows you to see the true nature of things expressed through a dreamlike state.
Interesting. You actually see it that way in...
I don't see a mugger at all. I just see a jaguar.
Oh, wow.
And then I can turn it off and...
Well, but if you saw Mugger as a jaguar going for meat, you wouldn't be interested in stopping that at all. Because a jaguar
yes,
eats
I
meat.
would, because
He's aware that he's
I'm
seeing
still
something
aware that I'm
different.
seeing...
Yeah.
I'm in a dreamlike state.
He knows there's not a jaguar attacking
Okay.
a deer on the street corner.
All right. Got it.
Yeah. And if the situation was a little different, like if the mugger's attacking out of fear or something too, it could be self-defense.
Yeah.
And to everyone else, it looks like a mugger attacking somebody, but really they're there for self-defense. He would see a picture.
So the idea
that
is he
fits
knows what's
that.
happening, but he sees the true motive behind it.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool. I like it.
But I don't see what literally happening. I only see the motive behind the actions. So it's kind of a... But the thing is,
But you know it's
typically
not a
when-
jaguar.
Exactly. But typically with the third eye, you get horrible experiences. So why did that building get built? It was so that they could bury somebody in it. So I would see some kind of representation of that in its construction. And so there's a lot of horribleness in the world. And being exposed to that causes some people to go insane when they use the third eye too much. For whatever reason, I seem to be resistant to it.
Well, that's part of being a warden too. You have to
Exactly.
be resistant to that so you can keep things in check. Right. Yeah. If you weren't, you wouldn't be very good at it for long.
Exactly.
All All right, so that covers a little bit of it. What about core stunts?
As a wizard, I get evocation, thaumaturgy, and soul gaze.
Ooh, a wizard soul gaze is pretty special.
Yeah, wizard's soul gaze is pretty special.
What does it say there?
So
for a
soul gaze,
description?
when looking someone directly in the eye for more than a few seconds, you peer into their soul, and they likewise get to see yours. The exchange manifests itself as a cryptic vision. Make a focus roll opposed by their focus roll. The winner learns one concrete, useful piece of information about the other individual, or two things if the winner succeeds with style. On a tie, each person learns something. These things can be advantages with a free invoke at the GM's discretion.
Who do you learn that from? From the character? Like,
It
let's say I
depends on
roll,
what it
I
is.
pose JJ and I
Yeah.
win,
Yeah.
and I learn something.
I would
about
have to
him.
tell
You'd
you
have to tell me.
something true and concrete, and whether or not it's established or not, like I just tell you something, and now you know that, and I have to record it on my sheet.
And of course, typically that's going to be against some NPC at some point.
Yeah.
And it'll be a trade between myself and JJ. But yeah, if it's another player character, then most likely you have to come up with something right then that will be true forevermore. Right? Because it will be something that happened or something that your character would do no matter the circumstance. It has to be a truth.
Am I going to have to call you Cletus for the next 30 episodes?
Yes, you are. You can call me Bits, I suppose.
You can call him Cletorus.
Oh, jeez.
What? Is there significance there?
But-
I don't understand.
There's some other things like the
that's why I
thaumaturgy
don't
allows
get
me to
it.
use ritual magic. Evocation allows me to use basic spells.
Cool. By the way, ritual magic is very, in the Dresden Files Accelerated, it is very similar to how Harry worked with Bob.
Yep.
Bob, I need to be able to track somebody. What stuff do I need? You know, get a piece of hair, get some, hogswort or whatever the hell. Put all these in a freaking cauldron and boil it for 2 days, and then don't touch it, or whatever that is.
Yep.
We come up with that stuff based on your requirements, and at the end, provided everything works out, it does what you wanted it to do. It's cool.
So we've gone around.
Now, actually, I give JJ his homework. Remember, you've got your high concept, trouble, and think of a third aspect, and maybe start coming up with an appearance for Cletus if you have not.
Okay.
And then we'll go back to Kurt. So, Kurt, what'd you end up with as a high concept?
Okay, so JJ and I did a little written back and forth on. So I'll be curious to know whether I have done this correctly or not.
Okay.
And by the way, as an offline, I've read none of the Dresden stuff, and I've read none of the Dresden Accelerated PDF other than what you directed. But I've been reading about Fate Core. I've been reading the Fate Core rulebook over the last month at like 10 pages a day.
And there are, I would say, 75% similarity between
Correct.
these systems.
So all these things like high concept, troubles, aspects
Yeah.
are all in there. And to be honest, I'm going to be totally honest here. I feel like I'm a smart dude. I don't get Fate. I just don't get it. And it's funny because I got it when we played the one shot, and I loved
there
it.
is no fate but what you make.
Well, so help me if I'm wrong on these.
Terminator 2.
So the high concept, I had something a little longer, and JJ suggested, and I think he's right, that my high concept is that I am a wealthy woodsman.
You want a sentence that distills your
Yeah,
character.
it's a phrase or sentence that is true of your character in all situations and something that drives you.
Well, so I had something like, I'm more at peace in nature than anywhere else.
So a combination
But
of
we
that would
want
be
the dollars in there.
wealthy woodsman who's more comfortable with nature than he is with you people, or something like that. A sentence that distills the concept of your character down to as short a sentence as possible.
And if you think you're a woodsman more than a wealthy man, then that fits. But maybe you think you're more of the wealth that enjoys nature. So word it the way that's comfortable
So
for
in my
you
case,
and
I'm
your
more
character.
the outdoorsy woodsman who happens to have old money or be
Yeah.
of old money. So I'll come up with an exact way to
Yeah.
word that, but the idea is I'm a wealthy woodsman who's much more comfortable in nature than at society functions.
It doesn't have the same game mechanic as an actual aspect, by the way. An aspect can be invoked or compelled, but your mantle is still something that has to be true of your character, unless some drastic life changes happen. So you would always have money, and you would always be more interested in the woods.
Right.
And those things, they will define how you play your character. So if you start playing your character outside of those bounds, then we review what your character is, because he's no longer the same person he started as.
Right. As my trouble, I have something like modernity equals ruin, development equals unhappiness. And so that sets up a conflict with what's happening in the upstate generally with all of this development and the growth. And
So say it again. I want to try and absorb it.
again, this is just my first
Yep,
crack at it,
go
but I
ahead.
just wrote modernity equals ruin. And my thought there was, I'm this warden of the Elf King or whatever I am, and he's
Earl King.
Earl King. Sorry. The Earl King is all fighting against ruin.
Yeah.
So modernity equals ruin, development equals unhappiness. I'm trying to set up here that
Yeah.
one, I'm comfortable in nature, and two, I'm a warden of the Earl King who's fighting against ruin and destruction, and so those things are very much aligned.
So then, what we want to know here is, how is it a trouble? So, for example, literally on page 93, there are examples, like one from the X-Files. The truth is out there. That's a trouble for Mulder, because he's always looking for the truth and getting himself in trouble.
Right.
Another one is everyone shoots the messenger, especially if you're a messenger. Well, so how does
Right. So
yours relate to? How does that get you in trouble? Is it because you're in the way of industry and you're getting
yeah, I guess
mowed over?
the idea is that the people who have power right now, which
Yeah.
are the real estate developers, I'm opposed to everything they're doing.
Okay.
Like every time they want to build something, I would rather it be a greenfield.
So you are the one hugging the tree or
I'm the
laying in
tree
front of the
hugger.
bulldozer. Okay.
Exactly. Whether I'm literally doing it or supporting those people,
Yeah.
like I'm opposed to the growth of the upstate.
So your trouble, the way we're currently framing this, your trouble is you're in their path. Right? The things that they want to do, you're trying to stop them. And they, at least perceptually, have more power than you.
Correct.
Okay.
And I put one other aspect. And
So
then
your
I-
third aspect.
Yeah, and then I wanted to reserve the others for as things go on, but it would be something like, and here I'm actually literally thinking of the Batman character.
Okay.
I can dress up well, but I don't like to. Meaning, if there is something that we need the rich guy to go to at the Poinsett Club or at the Charlotte Commerce Club or whatever, like I am probably the character that can go and do that, but that is not my preferred state.
So the third closet has the tuxedos. The first one is like
Camouflage,
camo and then khakis.
fishing shirts,
Yeah.
and then
Yeah.
tuxedo.
Okay.
Right. So just like Bruce Wayne is much more comfortable as Batman and out hunting things, but he can dress up when he has to. That's kind of the way I view my guy.
So
And by the way, if we decide if we don't want, I don't care about the rich guy part. That's secondary to me. I just thought
I like it.
it would
I
be
like
nice
it.
to have that option that we have access
Yeah.
to the old money resources.
why I dig it.
Because
Yeah.
I like
In the
that
world.
your dichotomy is just like Chris's, where you're rich but don't want to show it, and he's a vampire and wants to hide it.
Right, and it's not that it's not that I'm trying not to show it. It's that that's just not who I am. Like what I am is
And that-
I'm
yeah,
a
that's my
nature
point,
guy,
right.
and I happen to have $100 million in my bank account.
There's got to be a conflict between tying your own lures and just buying the best one out there.
Exactly.
Right? You probably struggle with that sometimes.
Right.
Dress up in your tux.
By the
to go to
way,
bait shop.
can I give a 30-second aside here?
I would love it.
So I was thinking
That's
about
enough.
while I was out urinating off of microphone. This is super
At least
interesting.
someone does.
It's super interesting doing the character creation this way because I was thinking about Strahd, which is such a great adventure, and I had this backstory for my character in my mind that I never brought out.
Mm-hmm.
My fault, not blaming anyone else, but I never brought it out. And in this, we're going to get a very, very, very good sense by the time we start Adventure 1 of who our characters are because we've literally created them together.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which I'm not saying is necessarily better or worse, but I definitely felt like I failed in Strahd in terms of making my character interesting because I did not get his character out into the game. And I feel like that is not going to be an issue with this game because we are literally creating our characters together.
It's one of the things I really
Yeah.
like about this system.
It's either better or worse depending on situation. Almost everything's situational.
Right.
But for us, where we want our characters to be intertwined as we start,
Right.
it's better. Without
Yeah.
a doubt, it's better.
It's just interesting.
Yeah.
I like
and
it.
then character growth while we're going. Now we have a solid foundation.
Right.
So when we want to bring up something that happened in your childhood, then like your parents got killed by bats, right?
So
I know that didn't happen to Batman's parents or Bruce Wayne as he's called. But
So are my are my concept trouble aspects relatively close
So
to something that will work?
Yes. What I need to think of and what you need to think of, for that matter, this is true of everyone at the table. When you have aspects, your high concept trouble, third aspect, and any other aspects we come up with, the important part of all of those is it is a definition of your character, and it can be used both for you or against you.
Right.
And if those things aren't true, then it isn't right.
Right. So while we're on me, can we do appearance and maybe approaches quickly?
While we're on you.
While we're on me?
Yes.
And then I'll be
All
quiet.
right, first let's all get on Kurt. And
Let's all get on Kurt. So my,
let's go ahead with appearance. And I think actually what I'd want to do, because I didn't tell anyone to do approaches yet, is we'll do that and come back to it.
okay, well, I was
So
going to
go
say, I
ahead
want to
and
do
start.
approaches just because I don't quite understand. So
Then we'll go back to it so that we all understand. We'll go on the same page.
okay,
when
so
we go to
my
approaches.
I would just think of my my character's name is Jamie Cleveland, and
Jamie Cletus.
Jamie Cleveland, and
Cletus Cleveland would be an awesome name. You guys are
well,
related.
Cleveland is an old upstate name, so that's why I've chosen that. And my name formal name may not be Jamie, but that's what I go by. And my appearance would be kind of handsome but shaggy, so like a little longer hair than would be socially acceptable.
Now, do you sport a beard or just a shadow?
No,
Because you're definitely not clean shaven. I mean, in my opinion, you wouldn't be.
So
clean
even if
shaven.
I was in a tuxedo at the club, I'm going to have a little bit longer, kind of wavier, almost like surfer boy hair, but I would be clean shaven for that.
well, yeah,
But on a day-to-day basis, I'm definitely rocking like the kind of Fu Manchu kind of like not scruffy because I still care, but just
care just not that much.
I care enough to show people that I don't care.
Nice. So there is a little bit of a front.
Yes.
All right.
And
Neat.
other than that, probably pretty average.
Average height,
6'1".
average weight.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like good
Well,
looking,
average,
but not
the average man is,
but
I
not
think, still 5'7". So you don't want to be average.
Well, then I'm
Really?
You're above
Is that true?
When they design cars for average-sized people, I think women are 5'2" and men are 5'7".
Well, that's hilarious. I'm 6 feet, and I think of myself as totally average.
In the South, there are taller people. Seriously, in the Northeast, there are shorter people. Well, at least
why?
in Massachusetts.
Well, what I would say here is
colder.
I am handsome
what that
enough
means.
to be attractive to anyone who's interested, but not stunningly handsome.
Okay.
How about that?
All right. Now, how about your character?
That's what I meant. All right.
All right. So that's good. Chris, you want to talk about what you've come up with for your high concept, trouble, and third aspect?
High concept, I'm going with Tribulational Saint, which is the Tribulational Saints are supposed to be people that go through the rapture, but they're here on Earth dealing with all the crap. So they don't get when the rapture happens, they don't go up. They're still hanging out, doing
All
God's
right.
work, getting the crap kicked out of them. We're going to be martyred and all that jazz.
So
So
on a
he's-
day-to-day basis, what does that mean for your character now?
He's fighting evil,
Okay.
and down on Earth still, he doesn't get to go to heaven, and he might never get to go. He's always fighting evil down here, but he's trying to get there. That's his.
Okay.
He wants to be good, but he's got that. He's born evil kind of thing. Not born
Okay.
evil, but born with that corruption.
Is he premillennial or postmillennial?
I don't want to be millennial at all. That's war.
So tribulational. what's it
Tribulational Saint.
called? Saint.
Yeah. So, trouble.
Trouble
What
would be
gets him
like
into trouble.
the hunger of having to feed still.
Okay.
And so he's got to be careful because he can't. If he knows if he kills somebody while feeding, it's all over for him.
So what do we phrase that as? Something like, I need to feed?
I said overcoming the hunger, or I don't know.
Okay,
or-
all right. Overcoming the hunger. That works. Okay.
The third thing, I'm not sure what to go with this because I don't know. They kind of leave it pretty wide open for the third.
Yeah, I mean,
Technically, he's a wielder of that sword, the Amarachius. I guess I could have
Okay.
that as part of the third aspect, but it doesn't have to because that lines up more with the Knight of the Cross thing. But it doesn't have to be that. I guess specific. I don't know. I mean,
well, it really, like I was saying for Kurt, and this is something to keep thinking about for everyone, each aspect in your high concept should be something that can be used for you or against you. So the idea of the hunger, right?
Right.
So for you, you know that if you needed to, you could feed. However, I could use it against you and force a situation where if you feed, it's a bad thing.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Or if
So,
it feeds
and
too
the
much.
same idea along all of the lines.
Right.
Any aspect that comes up could either be invoked or compelled. Really.
Gotcha.
I think of the words that are still used in the accelerated system, and that really means either you are saying I am gosh, what was it? The high concept against the
Tribulational
saint.
Yeah.
I am a tribulational saint, and that would help me in this situation in this way. Or I say, because you're a tribulational saint, this could hurt you, and here's how. So think of the same thing for your third aspect.
Like my old character was horny virgin or whatever,
Yeah.
which is a great description, and it could go
Yes.
either way.
Exactly.
It could drive me to
Right.
act, or you could use it
Yep.
against me.
Yep. So if you're not ready for that, that's cool.
Well, I mean, they mentioned things
Come up
like,
with it, yeah.
do you have like a? Oh, geez, now I gotta find it again.
So, for example, under third aspect, again, still on page 93, they have
Right.
examples of one is skilled hacker. Of course, that
Right.
could be beneficial.
Right.
But while you're hacking, of course, that's bad.
Yeah, I don't want to do that because I
Right.
kind of do that already.
Affinity for cats. I don't know why they didn't
Yeah.
just say cat lover.
Yeah.
I know. But anyway. And then the cold never bothered me anyway. So those are both good and bad. Everything
Yeah.
can be good or bad.
Yeah.
Trouble is intended to be bad that you
Right.
could try to make light out of.
Yeah.
Aspect is really just a personality trait, I think.
Yeah.
Right?
It is, but I like to think of it more as a driving force.
Yeah.
Because it's something that
Yeah, 'cause
should
I could
be,
say he's a musician, but who
it
cares?
should be
yeah.
defining your character as they are in this world.
So, like, if you have that sword, it's not just that you have the sword. It's what is the duty that
Right. It's that's what I mean. That's
Involves.
what I put down wielder of Amarakius, but I mean I don't.
And that is an important thing because in the world, in the Dresden verse, there are people who are
Kinda-
directly opposed.
Yeah, they're
The
coming for me.
Denarius
yeah
are
right.
directly opposed.
Yeah, the Denarians.
So being a wielder makes you a target.
yeah,
Right. So
But being a wielder also gives you certain powers.
Right.
couldn't
That's why I put it
aspect
down.
be something
Yeah.
like I'm a sworn wielder of the sword?
Well,
Well,
yeah.
it is like you have like a I don't know. I think it's mentioned. What's one of the examples of
In which part?
where is it?
Because I'm under the.
They possess a mighty artifact.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
and that's what that is.
Okay.
And is known throughout history.
Yeah.
In this case.
So that's why I put that as my
for,
third.
for the people in the know. It is
Yes.
known throughout history.
Yes.
Right.
So I put that,
Cool.
yeah, because I have people gunning for me, but then I have a sworn duty to use it for good.
Any idea? Actually, what was your character's name? Do you know yet?
I haven't. I want to do. I was thinking of doing Victor Bartok.
I think everybody should use some sort of anagram of Cletus.
I like Victor Bartok. Bartok sounds vampiric.
My name is
Yeah, it's
Cletus.
Hungarian. It's based on a guy named. It's a Hungarian
It's like
composer. back in the
Composer,
day.
yeah.
Sure.
Sure.
And
Victor with a K.
yeah.
Oh,
So
Victor with a K.
Yeah.
Really?
Kictor.
Yeah, Victor.
Victor, like that?
Whatever
Bartok?
that is.
Yep.
So
Yeah, correct,
PIK.
Any idea what he looks like yet?
I kind of had a like. Kind of want him like the high, like kind of like the Michael Rooker guy from. He's in the Guardians of the Galaxy and like Walking Dead and a bunch of other movies. But like when he had like the goatee and the mustache and goatee and the high and tight haircut. So he's kind of tough, but
Okay.
he's not. Doesn't look like super strong, but he's a tough looking dude. You know, he's just a tough guy. Looks
Stocky
like tough.
dude.
Yeah.
How old?
Like, well, it doesn't matter, right? If I'm a vampire, but
I guess that's true. I guess that's true.
It
probably looks like
doesn't-
late
how-
30s, early 40s.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Appearance. How
Yeah.
old does he look?
yeah. He
Right.
probably looks like late 30s, early 40s, but you can't. Really
Yeah. Because in our world, your actual age won't matter. It's what you're perceived as that
Right.
will matter. Okay, cool.
Okay.
So we're there. Mickie, you ready to step up to the proverbial plate?
Oh boy.
Do it, babe.
Is that
Come
yes
on.
or no?
I'm having some trouble here.
Okay.
All
Well,
right.
troubles
We're here to help.
So
We're
what
here to
high
help.
concept did you come up with?
So high concept, I've got the idea of this determined hunter.
Okay.
Like hunting is the family business for Mara.
Okay.
She's for generations her family has
So her mantle
kept-
was passed down.
it was passed
Okay.
down. Like her family has kept this journal, and each person has added to it, keeping a record of the histories of the monsters and the what has been active in the area and who's gone
Cool.
against what.
Make sure that's noted that the journal was passed down because I'd love to be able to use that almost like we did with the diary before. Mm-hmm. I'd love to be
okay.
able to give you messages that you may not have read in the past or may not have understood. That's a good thing.
So your high concept is you're like a multi-generational monster hunter?
Correct. And she's conflicted because she realizes that with the modern era, the hunters are being increasingly outgunned. So she's got this desire to gain more power, more resources to be able to fight the monsters, because
In
they're
the
now
modern world, vampires also have guns.
Is that your
the
trouble?
modern world. Yeah, it could be my trouble as well, because she can be kind of swayed to go too far. Maybe.
What did you have as a trouble before you asked that?
I didn't. I just
Okay,
have.
so that-
I wrote down, realized we're
so-
increasingly outgunned, and I could see that as maybe being kind of lured over to maybe playing with less than above board characters to try
So
and gain access.
what if we
to.
worded it something like an old skill in a modern world?
Okay, old skill in a modern world.
I'm thinking of that. Outgunned,
Or-
to me, just infers guns, and they're more powerful than you.
Right,
I like the idea. that-
Metaphorically, the idea is I'm
Yeah.
outgunned and I don't want to be.
yeah.
Correct. Like with
So
the
you've got to hone your skill to the modern age.
yes.
And that's what
Because
I'm
that's
thinking,
what the
an old
monsters are
skill in a
doing.
modern world. So
That's what the monsters are doing, right? Some of them
Yeah.
are coming more mainstream
Right,
with
so
the,
how
with
did-
the
how
rapes
did you
and
word it?
invasive.
an old skill in a modern world. So her skills passed down through generations, and it's only been perhaps in the last 100 years that the bad guys actually have a hand up on, because they've always been the evil and powerful, and now they have new things where you may
Right.
not have all the same tools. You're
Correct.
still walking around with the wooden stakes, and they have machine guns.
So we need to get
Yeah.
access to more powerful things. So I can
And
see
being
that.
a regular mortal, you haven't had the connections to pick up your own laser cannon.
Correct.
Yeah.
That might be
Then
useful at some point.
my third aspect, I've
Mm-hmm.
got resourceful. Can MacGyver the shit out of anything.
I like it saying it the second way. Can
Yes.
can
Like
MacGyver the
MacGyver
shit
the
out of
shit
anything?
out of anything.
So really, to me, what that means is you can take what's at hand and make something that's useful for the situation.
Yeah, that's
I've had
actually
to
that's a
learn that
great
one.
aspect.
Yeah.
That's really good.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Although Chris said that muted. Anything's a weapon. What? If you hold it right.
Anything-
Yes.
Which fits with the
a
her
butter knife
saying.
is awesome because it's both an edged and a blunt weapon.
It's good.
Cool. And you already had your name. What was it? Esmeralda Fancy Pants? Or
More or less.
Yeah, more or less. That
Do we
thing.
really have to go with less?
Any idea?
No, we could change it.
Can't we be more high
Actually, it's better when she's called for attendance in school because it's less Mora.
Less Mora.
We don't want as much as we used to have. Any idea what you want it to look like yet?
Nani.
How about Mora Lassard?
Fine.
Sounds kind of vampiric.
Mora Lassard.
Mora less is better.
Because Lassard is definitely a Cherokee name. Just saying.
Are you married?
No.
She's married to her journal.
How about? Well, shit. I'm not gonna make
Yeah.
Native American jokes now. All right.
Really? Any
More or
idea what
less.
she's going to look like?
Mora Lestrade. Nani. Remember Nani from
Mora
Lilo and
Lestat.
Stitch?
No.
Oh, yeah.
The sister?
Really?
Kind of Polynesian looking.
Okay.
Long dark hair. Looks like in her late 20s, early 30s.
So Pocahontas.
Not all the way Pocahontas. Maybe 30% Pocahontas.
You guys can play that later, but for the game purposes,
Late 20s, early 30s, like, you know, calloused hands. She's been
JJ will be Stitch and she'll be Pocahontas. That's going to be fun.
scars. 5'5". My height.
Cool. JJ, you're up next. What'd you end up with as
Really likes leather and high
the mantle?
heels.
Mantle is
Whips and
magical
chains.
practitioner.
Okay.
And I did the Dash Warden thing because I want to get down
Oh,
to that.
we did mantle. I'm sorry. I meant to say high concept. What was your high concept you came up with?
High
My
concept
mistake.
is Third Eye Addict, Policer of Wizards.
Okay.
Third Eye Addict.
So he is constantly looking at stuff for its true nature.
Yep.
Please, sir.
Okay. So what we'll need to do in the game sessions is you will let me know when that's important to you
Yep.
so that I can come up with something.
Is that really two high concepts, or is it one?
It is a one sentence that incorporates two different aspects. You can string as much as long as it turns into a sentence. It's fine.
What troubles him?
My main trouble is my family doesn't know.
You mean your human family?
My human family.
They
Like,
don't know that you
I
are
settled
involved.
down here
Okay.
in the upstate, and they do not know that magic exists or anything.
In order for that to be expansive enough, we need to know more about your family. So think about that.
Okay.
They need to have some level of importance.
How about
I mean,
Is
if
it
it's
my
just,
family doesn't know, or no one close to me knows?
No, my family doesn't know.
I
Like,
mean,
my family just thinks I'm a police officer.
right.
Do you have,
And yeah, in order for that
do you
to
have
be
friends that
important,
know, like best friends that
No,
know?
no one would know.
So
In
no
o-
one close to you knows.
in order for that to mean
So
something
your trouble
as
is-
a trouble, it needs to be something that I can use even when your family's not around.
Right,
That's what I'm saying,
you're in the
right.
closet.
Whoa.
Sure.
He's a closet wizard cop.
Right. Well, but there's a difference between my family doesn't know and
Yeah.
no one I care about knows.
Yeah,
Mage cop.
it needs to be expansive enough that it affects you even when your family's not around. Because it's your character's
when I-
trouble,
when I
not your
say-
character's trouble at family reunions.
When I say it's family, like, I mean anybody I care about.
Okay.
No one knows that I'm a wizard,
Okay.
and I
Well,
do not
this group of 4 may know, right?
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
possibly.
I'm going to put no one I care about knows I'm a wizard.
But
Cool.
when I say I like the encapsulation of my family doesn't know. Like, I like that sentence. It's not. I don't mean just my biological family. I mean
Right, okay.
anyone I consider my family.
Okay.
And they may not know I'm an addict of the third eye, or my family doesn't
how
know
about-
anything.
how
Like,
about-
I'm very private.
Let me try a stab at a little wider thing. People I know don't know me.
There you go.
How about that?
That'll work.
Because people you don't know probably don't give a damn.
Well, I know
But
don't know me,
yeah,
so
people I know
I'm
don't
very
know me.
private.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
Well, private to the extra stuff. I mean, as Cletus the car mechanic or whatever, I only ever think of Cletus as a car mechanic, so forgive me. But as Cletus the cop, everyone knows he's Cletus the cop,
Yeah.
but nobody knows the wizard cop.
Do you have a third
Okay.
aspect?
Yeah.
My other aspects are don't call me Fitz, look him in the eye, and speak softly but smash him with the hammer.
And you did those because you had to pick extra? Or you did that on your own?
I just did it on my own.
Okay. So we'll need to explore picking extra stuff after.
So the other aspects
Yeah.
is just other aspects.
Right,
You can just
but-
add them.
Yeah,
and he
As
said
part of character creation, some of that is mentioned.
so.
and I
The
want- I
character
wanna talk
creation
about
part,
that.
the aspect of that is
Yeah.
the "Don't call me Fitz" is because of Kurt saying, "Do I really have to call you Cletus the entire time?" That's I immediately I was like, "Don't call me Fitz." So in other words,
Yeah.
call me by my name.
Oh, how about then? My name is Cletus. We try
I
that
was trying to
instead
be
of "Don't
funnier
call me
with
Fitz."
it.
It's funny, yeah. And then put in parentheses, "Don't call me Fitz," because for me, I want to think of it as if anyone calls you something else, it's a big deal,
Right. Fitzy,
Okay.
the hammer. The
right? Or,
Fitzinator.
Hammer
or
time.
John.
Hammer time.
Drop
Right,
the
so
hammer,
one was
time
don't
for
call me
action.
Cletus. Number 2 was what?
Don't call me Fitz.
Don't call me
well,
Fitz. My name
but-
is Cletus.
My name is Cletus.
Right.
Yeah.
Look him in the eye. So
Yeah.
everyone knows who's giving them their punishment, so to speak. Like,
Now, there's a crossroads there with the wizard's gaze, the soul gaze, because you can't look someone in the eye for more than a couple of seconds.
exactly, without
So-
invoking that focus off.
So I would almost call that a trouble.
It is. Like, I like everyone to know, and so
Okay.
like if I may even before I smite them, so to speak,
Yeah.
I may even let them know that why I'm here through the soul gaze.
So that can be an aspect that is also in trouble. I mean, you can invoke it against
Oh
it as
yeah,
a
I mean
compel.
it is. But I think of that as more of a trouble than anything else.
Fair
right?
enough.
That's why I said it.
So
that
he's
way.
going to be able to
But
compel
that's
you
fine.
on that a lot.
Yeah.
And then what was the last one?
is speak softly but smash him with the hammer.
And that works because in most situations you shouldn't be the voice of the group,
Yep.
right?
I've
That
been
works.
I've been the voice of the group for a couple times
But
now.
as soon as anything, I don't know what's the right. As soon as somebody starts crossing the line, you hit them,
yep,
right?
Okay.
Okay.
I'm very judgy.
So
And then to wrap up this episode, what does he look like?
I see him as a older gentleman, probably in his early 50s.
Is that what he looks like?
No,
Like if somebody saw Cletus on the street in his officer's
Yes.
uniform, how old does he look?
he looks like he's in his early 50s, maybe
Okay.
late 40s, early 50s,
Okay.
and he's fairly slight to the build.
Okay.
I would say a little bit thicker than wiry.
Ah, okay.
Thicker than wiry,
He's
whatever that
wiry,
means.
wiry plus.
Wiry plus.
he's a lightweight rower.
Yeah, I could guess that.
It's double insulated wire.
Double insulated.
I'm barbed wire.
Barbed wire. He's pointy. How is he normally seen? Because I keep thinking of the police officer, right?
Yep.
When people think of Cletus, is he in his officer's uniform or is he in khakis and a polo? What is his normal garb?
Normal garb would definitely be a uniform.
Okay.
He likes that authority.
So
that
even
the
when he's
uniform-
off duty, he wears the police polo shirt or
Exactly.
something like that? Okay.
that extra ounce of authority so that he doesn't have to ever smack someone down.
And he get 10% discount almost everywhere.
Yeah.
Especially
Or-
donuts.
Especially stereotype much.
Much.
God. I went to Glazed Gourmet Donuts in Charleston yesterday. I bought 4 donuts. It cost me $14.40. And then
What?
and then offline, I'm going to tell you how amazing these donuts were.
Offline, I'm going to show you a picture of donuts from in Spartanburg. It's downtown Donuts and Deli. I'm going to show you a picture.
my
However, the short of it is, they have donuts with bacon on them.
I had an apple bacon fritter yesterday as one of my donuts.
That sounds yummy.
Was it so
I'll
good
show
you wished you could sew your asshole shut so you could keep it forever?
Not that good.
It was so good. I wanted to rub it all over my nipples and lick it off.
And on
Your
that
own
note,
nipples?
we're going to wrap up this session of
impressive.
Adventures from the Shed, and we'll be back with a little bit more of character creation as we're getting finished up preparation for our Dresden Files Accelerated game. In the meantime, we can all say...
Bye,
Sayonara.
everyone. Hasta luego.
Say
Ciao.
bye, Chris?
Yeah, I said see ya.
Oh, I didn't hear you.
Because everybody's talking
I'll
at the same
stop.
time.
The preceding podcast was brought to you by One Joe Young. You can find us online at adventuresfromtheshed.com.